I know, so does it want to sit up front?
Myself, each on one side of the
I'm gonna be here for two, right?
What's that?
I'm gonna be here for two.
And then am I doing the
Yes.
president's with the
We're
text
doing
amendment?
8 and 9. Yeah, because we're adopted.
Right. So you're going right after the conditional use?
Yep.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't think that needs to be. I don't think you need to do. Because she's good. Now it's just special counsel, so it just can't be our counsel.
I was like very long-eyed and prepared. I know, now I can read anniversary. I didn't know this, I just read it up. Well, I don't know if it accurate. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving us a couple of extra minutes. Before we get started, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And before we actually do the Pledge of Allegiance, I want to just turn it over to Beth, Supervisor style, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Today is the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau in 1945. So on this International Holocaust Remembrance Day, I'd like that we all give a moment of silence to remember the 6 million Jews, Jewish victims, and the victims of other Jewish persecution, so that we may never forget. A moment of silence, please.
Thank you. Now we'll go into our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to start off with a couple of announcements. We are proud to announce that Montgomery Township has been awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association for our annual comprehensive fiscal report for the fiscal year ending December 31st of 2023. This recognition reflects our commitment to transparency and excellence in government accounting, marking a significant achievement for the township and its management. So I just wanted to personally say thank you to Carolyn and team. This is a job well done, so thank you. Thank you very much. I think this is a wonderful segue. I would be remiss if we didn't mention that today is Community Manager Appreciation Day. And I think I can speak for the board when I say we truly believe we have the best of the best, as you know, as our township manager. So thank you for all that you do for us, for the team, for the community. You are very much appreciated, and thank you. Thank you. Now I'm going to open up, see if we have any public comment. Any persons wishing to make public comment during this meeting on any items that are not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward. Item number 5 is our announcement of executive session. Township Solicitor.
Yes, the Board of Supervisors met in executive session earlier this evening at 6:30 to discuss a litigation matter. The topic discussed is a legitimate subject of an executive session and of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Sunshine Law. Thank you.
Okay, item number 6 is our motion to approve the consent agenda as presented for the following minutes of the January 6, 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting. Payment of bills for January 27th, 2025. Escrow release number 5 for the Batria Temple Phase 2 Cultural and Learning Center. Escrow release 7, Higher Rock Residential Development. And then our escrow release 3 and start of maintenance for the Montgomery Retirement Residence. Do you have a motion? Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7, this is the appointment of our special counsel for conditional use hearing. Carolyn McCreary.
Thank you. Tonight, the Board of Supervisors will hold a conditional use hearing for 92 County Line Road Associates LLC relating to their application to lease a space to operate 15 indoor batting cages in the LI Light Industrial District. Cost for this professional service will be accounted for in the legal services line of the general fund budget, and I would ask that the board would entertain a motion to appoint Michael Fury Esquire as special counsel for this hearing.
Second. Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing conditional use application for 92 County Line Road. Mary Ann McConnell.
92 County Line Road Associates has submitted a conditional use application to lease a 22,000 square foot tenant space with an existing 75,000 square foot building for an indoor athletic facility at 92 County Line Road. The proposed indoor facility consists of 15 batting cages, is permitted by conditional use in the limited industrial district. The applicant is requesting conditional use approval for the proposed use in accordance with section 230-103C2 and will demonstrate compliance with the standards and criteria set forth in 230-156.2 of the Township zoning ordinance. Township staff and consultants, as well as the County Planning Commission, have had the opportunity to review the details of the application. The review letters are in your packet. The application was also presented and reviewed by the Township Planning Commission at their January 16th, 2025 public meeting. The draft minutes are also included in your packet. The hearing was advertised, property posted, and notification letters were mailed to the adjacent property owners. As this is a public hearing, the Township Solicitor will guide you through the hearing process and handle details on behalf of the Township.
Thank you, Ms. McConnell. At this time, we will commence this public hearing on the conditional use application of the applicant 92 County Line Road Associates LLC. Again, this is for 92 County Line Road in the LI Limited Industrial Zoning District, where the applicant is seeking to permit the operation of indoor batting cages, which is classified as an indoor athletic facility use, which is permitted in the LI Limited District when approved by conditional use pursuant to section 230-103.C2 of the Township zoning ordinance. We have a few exhibits we're going to mark for the board for this application. The first, Board Exhibit 1, is the conditional use application with the accompanying materials, which was dated November 21st, 2024. Board Exhibit 2 is the conditional use application supplements that were submitted by the applicant, revising and changing and providing additional information on the original application, which was submitted by a letter dated January 2nd, 2025. Board Exhibit 3 is a November 25th, 2025 email stating an extension is permitted, so a letter of extension to hold the conditional use hearing. And that, again, is a November 25th email of 2024, stating that the hearing could be held until tonight, January 27th, 2025. Board Exhibit 4 is the proof of publication of the conditional use hearing for tonight's hearing in the Reporter newspaper, which was published on January 13th and January 20th, 2025. Board Exhibit 5 is a proof of notice of this hearing to the 9 adjoining properties that are required to receive notice of this hearing under our code. Board Exhibit 6 is the proof of posting of the property, the posting occurring on or before January 15th, 2025. Board Exhibit 7 is a proof of review by the Montgomery County Planning Commission on this application, which was dated December 18th, 2024. Board Exhibit 8 is the proof of review by the Montgomery Township Planning Commission, which occurred on January 16th, 2025. The applicant is represented today by Kristen Pianzio from the law firm of Hamburg, Rubin, Mullen, Maxwell. Special counsel Mike Fury is present here on behalf of the township, I see, due to his appointment prior to this hearing. Besides that, is there anybody here hoping to make comment on this application? So seeing that no one wants to make comment, is there anybody here that's looking to obtain party status to this hearing, meaning someone's hoping to also become a party to this hearing with the ability to ask questions, present your own witnesses or testimony? All right, hearing and seeing none, I will turn this over to the applicant. But before we dive too forward into the case, my understanding is there has been some negotiations. Maybe Mr. Fury, you'd be the best person to address this, related to some potential conditions that have been worked out between the township and the applicant that might make your need to proceed in opposition of this application null and void, if that's the case.
Mr. Solicitor, thank you. Members of the board, good evening. Michael Fury. Thank you for the appointment as special counsel in regard to this matter. Attorney Pianzio and I have had a chance to review the issue specifically with regard to the pedestrian access and the suggestion from the township engineer that some type of pedestrian access be provided with regard to this project. Ms. Pianzio has provided emails dated today, and there's 2 emails which I would ask the board to consider with regard to if the board is inclined to approve the conditional use. And I would just add that with regard to that, the conditional use requirements provide that the project has to be in compliance with the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan anticipates that there would be some type of pedestrian circulation with regard to a project. Ms. Pianzio has provided what I believe to be a reasonable resolution to that issue. I would ask those matters to be considered, and also these exhibits to be placed in.
I think, are you going to mark those as a township
May we
exhibit?
please? Yes.
Yes.
T1.
And that's the correspondence from earlier today?
Yes, so T1 is collectively the emails that Mike referred to, and then the 2 plans that are referred to in the emails, both of which are prepared by Ritu Associates, Inc., dated November 14, 2024, last revised today, January 27, 2025, both depicting that pedestrian path. One is an aerial with the details attached to it, and then one is just a black and white site plan. So collectively 4 pages, if that would be T1.
Correct.
Okay.
And and that will be admitted. In my understanding, Ms. Pianzio, is that I see an exhibit that's going to be presented, and I'm assuming marked. Does it also appear on the plan that's being shown right now to the board? I see a black line on
It is on
okay.
there.
So just to summarize this briefly for the board, the the applicant is agreeing to install a macadam path. It's somewhat wavering due to some obstructions along the road. It's not a concrete sidewalk, but a macadam path that spans the frontage of the property. That, as proposed, would go in as seen, unless I think both parties would agree to something different in case any issues show up. It does sort of straddle a basin that might need to be filled in briefly or in a small area. And that way, there's a split rail fence with wire mesh for protective purposes will be installed. The pathway would be ADA compliant. And a condition would be, again, the two important conditions would be that wouldn't need to be installed until the last certificate of occupancy for the building would be issued. Right now, there's one tenant coming in proposed for this hearing, but the rest of the building remains empty. The last tenant will go in, whether it's 1, 2, I can't imagine it'd be 3 based upon the use, but whatever that might be, a certificate of occupancy could be withheld until that path would go in at that time. And 2, installing that path would not trigger any governmental agency reviews relative to the stormwater management on the site or modifications to that basin. I think the applicant's trying to avoid a full stormwater study of this property, otherwise wouldn't have to do just to put in a path that the township is requesting. Is that accurate for the conditions, Ms. Pianzio, as I
Yes,
stated?
I think you've summarized it. Yes.
So my understanding then, Mr. Fury, is that assuming that they agreed to that as a condition, the township would no longer be opposing this application.
That's correct, Mr. Solicitor. Thank you.
So if this board does grant this application, you'd be requesting that be an additional agreed upon condition of that grant of approval.
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. With that, my understanding then is the township would no longer, and you're in agreement, I'm sorry, Ms. Pianzio, with that condition?
Yes.
Okay. And with that, I'm understanding that the township is no longer then going to be opposing this application, correct?
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you. That's correct.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fury, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now with that, I believe we've able to proceed to the case in chief, Ms. Pianzio.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kristen Pianzio here from Hamburg, Rubin, Mullen, Maxwell, and Lupin. It's nice to see you. I have a representative of the owner here. I don't plan on calling him. I have our engineer from Ritu who designed these plans, and she'll testify as to the requirements in your code. And I have Todd Montigny, who is the proposed operator of DBATS, which is a nationwide franchise for batting cages, and they have facilities for pitchers as well. Just as a prelude to all of that, you may know this property at 92 County Line. It's been a mess for many years. It was vacant. It was dilapidated. My client bought the property and invested about $5.4 million, not in the land acquisition, but in the improvements, a lot having to do with the fact that it's a Superfund site. It was contaminated. They installed a vapor system underneath the concrete pad of this facility so that in agreement with the EPA, so that there wouldn't be any harm in vapors or anything for anybody in the building. With that investment, it is still sat vacant for a couple of years, and now they finally have a tenant who's interested in taking approximately 22,000, in particular 22,192 square feet of the building, which is 75,950 square feet in total. The plans depict the size of the site is 11.5 acres. It's on County Line Road. And I won't belabor this any further. Why don't I get Todd up here? I'll start with Todd. He's going to tell you about the operation of the franchise, and then Kim will help us walk through the provisions of your code. So Todd, could you come forward? And we'll have you sworn in.
Sure. Someone swear testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Could you state your name and spell, please?
Todd Montigny, Montigney.
N-E-Y.
N-E-Y, yeah.
Thanks, sir. Counsel.
Yes. So Todd, give the board some background as to why you're interested in being the franchise owner here.
Great. First, I'm a resident of Hilltown Township, local in the area for 11 years, and very active in baseball in the community at Deep Run Little League, is where I have 3 boys that play ball. My boys are 13, 11, and 8. coach and I'm also a baseball travel commissioner there. One thing I found over the years is that, especially when you get down to wintertime, there's nowhere for kids really to go. There's nowhere to practice. You can go to Freddie Hill Farms maybe in the summertime and hit a few balls, but there's nowhere for baseball or softball people to go. So about 2 years ago, I came across a franchise opportunity with DBAT. Finally found the location that we're talking about today, and excited to open this up for the community. One thing that this is really tailored to is really 7 to 12-year-olds. That's our main demographic. And one thing you probably know with sports is kids are quitting constantly, usually around the age of 13. Our goal is not to be for the elite baseball athletes. So you tend to find those kids at 13 going to AAU facilities that might be around the area. This is more meant for like helping the kid make the travel team, helping the kid move up from 10th in the batting order to 7th or 6th, get the wins and also be able to help parents who are volunteering know what to do to coach. They're giving their time to their kids, but maybe not know what they're doing in baseball and softball. We're going to be doing coaching clinics and free coaching clinics for the community as well, to really help people do better and have kids succeed and stay in sports. Because I think we all know the benefit of kids staying out of trouble if they're in sports.
So we're proposing 15 cages in total, correct?
Correct.
Are they all batting cages or are there pitching facilities?
There's 13 dedicated batting cages. 5 of those batting cages will be machines that, launch baseball, softball, fast pitch and slow pitch softball. There'll be 2 dedicated pitching lanes, and a few of those 13 I mentioned can be pitchers or hitting.
I have the hours of operation as Monday through Friday, 10 to 9, Saturday, 10 to 6, and Sunday, 12 to 6. Is that right?
Correct.
And your peak time for the use is 5 to 9 p.m.?
Correct. Monday to Friday.
Okay. I also have that at any given time, the maximum number of employees would be 7 for instructors and 3 employees. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You will have a pro shop, right?
Correct.
1,000 square feet for a pro shop.
Correct. Yeah, DBAT has a partnership with Rawlings/Easton. So we will be supplying a lot of their stuff.
Okay. And there is a game room for kids, about
Correct.
500 square feet for that.
Correct.
Is there anything else you think the board should know about this operation other than that general description?
No, not anything I already said.
Okay. Thank you. They're all the questions I have of Todd. He'll still be here if something comes up, but Kim can walk through the other requirements of the code.
Does the board have any questions at this time related to the operation of the batting cage facility, not the site itself, or if it's in the property itself?
Are you intending to sell concessions there?
No, not really. I mean,
And no food?
no food. There might be a vending machine possibly there at some point, or behind a desk, cooler, we sell Gatorade or water or something.
Would people be able to bring food in, or will it be a restriction to, if they want to bring pizza or?
Correct. Correct. There is also a parent lounge in there too, for like mom and dads can kind of hang out, and
My next question.
or most of the places that do some stuff around here you usually don't want to hang out at.
Mhm.
Will you be coordinating with any of the area leagues?
Correct. Yes.
That
Yeah, we're
would be
doing-
the intention?
Correct. Yeah, we're going to be doing free coaching clinics. We're going to allow them to use our space at times for free sessions to see it, but also maybe do their board meetings there for the leagues. We also plan on doing some sort of revenue share because there's a membership component. If kids want to come anytime they want, there's like a monthly fee they can do, and possibly giving back some money to the local little leagues for every time someone from their little league or softball league comes in. So our plan would be, there's a lot of little leagues around where this location is. There's probably 9 or 10 that we'll probably partner with, and hopefully over the next few months have meetings with them about how that might look.
Yeah. Tell me a little more about the game room. Like what kind of games would you have in the game room?
The game room is going to be more like a birthday party room.
And you will have parties there?
There will be some birthday parties.
Okay.
It's not a main driver of the business, but they do.
Okay, but there would be like video game?
No,
No?
it's going to be more just a table and bring cake or something like that to it.
Okay, so
More like a conference room?
conference room, party room.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Question about, so there was a path
from Richardson Road that actually you can kind of see in the lower left-hand corner of your display. There's sort of this path that comes in. It actually originates on Richardson Road, and there are a lot of families along in the neighborhoods, which are within the township. They use that path to access Whistle Stop Park. I could see them also using that path to access your facility, which would be good for you. Do you have any plans to make an improvement in the rear of the property to allow for that kind of foot or bicycle traffic?
So he wouldn't be the one to answer that
okay.
question.
Yeah,
I'll have the engineer answer that for you.
thank you.
Any other questions from the board? In your experience, how are people coming and going? Is it families coming? Is it buses? Is it vans? What?
No buses. It'll be more your mom and dad driving, little Johnny or Sally to the place, either dropping off or staying there and watch for like an hour session or whatnot.
Is there a requirement for adult supervision?
No.
No.
Any other questions? Thanks. Ms. Pianzo, call your next witness.
Okay, great. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Tim?
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, Mr. Fury, do you have any questions for the township?
You saw me, you saw me start testimony about saying, this is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yep.
Can you state and spell, please, for the board?
Kim Fosnack, KIMFASNACHT.
Thank you, Council.
Kim, you're a licensed professional engineer, is that right?
I am a licensed registered landscape architect.
And you're employed by Ritu, who prepared the drawings that are part of the application, correct?
That's correct.
And you're familiar with the property and the codes of Montgomery Township?
That is correct.
In preparation for tonight, you and I reviewed the requirements that are found in the zoning ordinance. Is that true?
That is correct.
Okay, let's start with, in the LI district, it describes indoor athletic facilities, including but not limited to, and among other things, batting cages. Do you see that?
Yes.
So we would comply with that requirement?
Yes.
And that the indoor athletic facilities shall be located in a building that has at least 20,000 square feet of gross floor area, although the indoor athletic facility does not need to use the whole building. Do you see that? So we comply with that?
Yes.
And then states that indoor athletic facilities may include accessory retail sales and accessory video arcades / game rooms, provided the retail sales area and video arcade game rooms do not comprise more than 15% of the gross floor area of the athletic facility, or 3,000 square feet, whichever is less. Do we comply with that?
Yes, we do.
If we did the calculations of 1,500 square feet, it's 6.7% versus the maximum of 15%, correct?
That's correct.
And that would total 1,500 square feet, which is less than the 3,000 square foot maximum.
Yeah.
Okay. Turning now to the requirements for a conditional use found in 230-156.2 of the zoning ordinance. In particular, paragraph C, there's enumerated 1 through 13. We went through these together, did we not?
We did.
Okay, let's go through them. Number 1, that the use is permitted by conditional use and that it conforms to the applicable regulations of the district. Do we comply with that standard?
Yes, we do.
And there is a zoning chart on your plan that depicts all the dimensional criteria, and this property either meets or exceeds them.
That is correct.
Okay. In number 2, it asks that we conform to the regulations regarding signs, off-street parking, loading, non-conforming uses, and miscellaneous provisions. As far as signage is concerned, could you walk to the board, please, and point out for the supervisors the side of the building that DBATS would be utilizing?
So GBATS is going to be utilizing the northern side of the building. There's actually, you can see it better in the aerial, there's a wall here that separates this half of the building from that half of the building. And their main entrance will be in this location here. So they will solely be utilizing this parking lot. They won't have a need to utilize this parking lot at all. That will be held for the other tenants when they secure.
So I'm handing to the board and to those on the dais what I've marked as A1 and A2. A1, is that a revised aerial of the plan showing the location of the entrance and the handicap parking spaces?
That is correct.
And A2 is that an interior floor plan which shows the board where exactly DVATS is located within the building.
That is correct.
And A2 depicts that DVATS takes the rear portion of the building. Is that right?
That is correct.
The rest of the building is open,
Yes.
right? It's not finished, right? It's just all concrete with the board full, right? We at one point thought that there would be the ability to go through the other side of the building and reach DVATS. That's no longer the case, correct? DVATS has the sole entrance along the back portion of the building, on what I call their side.
Yes.
On the Whistle Stop Park side of the property. So there's all kinds of parking area and space for future tenants to utilize the remainder of the building, correct?
Correct.
Now, because it's a light industrial property and it permits industrial type uses, there could be tractor trailers and other type of uses circulating the parking lot on the other side, right?
That is correct.
And for that reason, there was a question about that path and whether or not there would be any improved access for kids who might be cutting through. That's something that our client has not considered.
That is correct.
Right? Because they're concerned that there could be a conflict between inviting children onto the property and conflicts with those truck movements, right?
Correct.
Okay. Doesn't mean there would be anything to stop them necessarily, but to invite them on has liability issues. True? You have to say yes.
Yes.
or no.
Sorry.
Okay.
I said yes. It was low.
Okay. Now, as far as signage, we understand, and for the board, we haven't looked yet at signage. We know that there's limitations in your signing code, in your signage section of the code. We would want some signage on this part so people know to come in this driveway because there are two. We don't want them being confused. So there are limitations about the number of signs. We are going to have to go through that. If we can't comply with the zoning ordinance, we will have to go to the zoning hearing board. We understand that, and we're still studying how we're going to address signage, but we know it's important because we want people only on one side. Is that your understanding as well, Kim?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't have the need for loading and unloading with this use. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
But we do have more than the required parking as shown on your plan?
That is correct.
Okay. In 3, it talks about vehicular access to the lot being provided at a distance from intersections and other points of access. We're using the existing driveways that were used for tractor trailer traffic at one point, correct?
Correct.
We actually had traffic planning and design do a letter that was submitted as part of B2, where they analyzed the reduction in trips for this use versus previous users on the property.
Yes.
So do you find that it would be safe for vehicle access as we have described it?
Yes.
In number 4, it talks about the capacity of the roads for the proposed use. Do you feel that this use would not overburden the existing roadway of the road?
Yes.
In number 5, it talks about unwarranted impact on traffic. Again, not causing additional congestion in the area where there may be existing congestion. Is it your opinion that we would not adversely impact that?
Yes.
In number 6, it talks about screening of the proposed use from the surrounding uses. Your aerial plans show dense vegetation around the entire perimeter of the site. Is that true?
True.
Do we meet that criteria in your opinion then?
Yes.
Next, number 7 talks about not adversely affecting the Montgomery Township's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan identifies this property as industrial. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And it is zoned, in fact, light industrial, correct?
Correct.
And the use is permitted as a conditional use, correct? So we would be in conformance with the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8 talks about the purpose of the chapter that's found in 230-2. The purpose here, I've just handed you a copy of this. Have you reviewed subparagraphs A and B?
Yes.
And do we meet the criteria and the purpose of the zoning ordinance in general?
Yes.
Number 9 talks about it being suitable for the character of the neighborhood. The use is permitted and it would not adversely affect the neighborhood. Is that true?
Yes.
Is there anything, and I'm referring now to number 10, that would impair adequate light supply of light and air to the adjacent property.
No.
Number 11, that we wouldn't adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare. Do you agree that we do not adversely affect those 3 items?
I agree.
Number 12 says that we will not adversely affect transportation or unduly burden water, sewer, school, park, or other public facilities. Is that true?
Yes.
And 13 says that the proposed use shall not overcrowd land or cause undue concentration of population with undue intensity of use. Do we meet that criteria?
Yes.
We've also shown that we would add a dumpster on the other side of the building, so that's where trash would be taken care of. Is that right?
So there's an existing dumpster pad back in the rear of the building that they will be able to access through their portion, and they're going to continue using that.
And there's lighting along the outside of the building.
Yep, there's existing lighting that they will utilize for the parking area.
And as part of the condition of adding the pedestrian path along the frontage, your plan also shows how that path extends through the site with a crosswalk and connects to the existing crosswalk around the building.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have of her, please.
Can you help us understand where this, the path or the sidewalk is in front of the building? Because I only see one path leading from the ADA parking spots.
Yeah, so there is what we have done is there's an existing concrete sidewalk, but in front of the building, there's a 5-foot path that we are going to have in front of the parking spaces, and we're going to have bumper blocks that are going to make sure that they're protected. So the intention would be for them to go along the front of the building to the main entrance.
So, and would they extend then to that side sort of green space to
Over here.
further to the left, or my left, to the, I guess that would be the west in that view.
So it's along, there's existing, we're
Yes.
just going to utilize the existing pavement along the front of the building, and that's going to be the walkway to the main entrance.
Yes, I understand that largely, especially parents dropping off, that they're going to be using that parking lot. But that really well-worn path that shows up on that aerial photo is going to have a lot of foot traffic and bicycle traffic from those neighboring residential areas. So, I'm going to go back to that question about accommodations that are going to be made for that kind of foot traffic and bicycle traffic.
Could you
If
show me
there's,
where that is on this plan?
yes. Actually, I had a resident who was kind enough to send me this.
Can we go off the record? Do you mind if you, just so you can show me, because he won't be able to carry.
This is the path that they use to get into the park.
So
It's all along here. It comes along the rear of this property line. And that's why I was like, well, it'd be great if we could make some sort of accommodation through this green space to allow safe, access
So they don't do it here and then walk through.
through a parking lot. This is the well-worn path that already exists that they're using. And I'm not saying go outside the property line, but if there was some accommodation that could be made for that access, that would be really helpful. Or bike racks, some sort of accommodation for the kids that are going to be coming, who are going to be very attracted to this facility. I will tell you that I got this information directly from a resident who's very excited about the facility moving in.
So if we can go back on the record, we just had a conversation about an existing path that exists along the perimeter of the property. I notice on this aerial that it doesn't cut onto the property, but hugs that property line over to the park. I would say that my client does not propose to have any designated improvement to attract children onto this property. Even though the back portion will be utilized by DBATs, we want to encourage children to come via vehicle. If kids do traverse the back, that's one thing, but to put a path in creates liability issues, and we don't want to have liability issues on this property, especially when we think there will be industrial users on the property. So from a legal standpoint, I would not recommend that my client do that. And I'm sure that they would not have intentions of attracting children onto the property. They can get to the park, which is where we want them.
But there's subscription-based services. You can come as much as you want, and there's no requirement for adult supervision. So it stands to reason that this actually is going to attract that kind of traffic. And it's also reasonable to assume that they're going to follow an existing path that are, that's well worn and shows up on this aerial photo. So I'm just trying to, you know, prepare for the safety of that, that access that we know exists today and is likely to increase given the, the installation of this business into that location. So, would you be amenable to including, bike racks just to accommodate them, in some small area, that, is along that perimeter there, or not in the back, but, adjacent to the building?
Do you have any intention of adding bike racks to near the front of the building? Okay. All right. I just discussed with my client off the record. They would include a bike rack somewhere along the frontage. Hopefully the kids will use the path that we're putting in to get onto the property. That would be the safest bet. But yeah, we'll include a bike rack.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for this witness? Ms. Pianzia, the A1 exhibit, it does not have the path reflected, but just for purposes of the record,
Right.
that path, as you shown to the board on the display, would have the path, the bike path. So we're to assume that A1 is going to have the bike path.
Yes, it's
Correct.
attached as T1. It's
Correct.
the third
That's the
page,
T1.
third and fourth
Correct.
pages of T1 show installation of the pedestrian path.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Fury?
Well, I think that the witness to explain a little more detail with regard to the macadam walkway that's planned and was part of the T1.
Please.
Sure. So there's a 4-foot macadam pathway that's going to traverse across the frontage of the site within the ultimate right-of-way. There are some areas where we were unable to provide a beauty strip, a 2-foot beauty strip, due to the existing basin, which basically is right 5 feet off the back of the curb. So we have a 2-foot beauty strip here, and then to avoid a guide wire and a existing electrical pole, we bring the walkway in closer to the site, and it also tees off to the existing building connection into the existing sidewalk that is in the front of the building there. Then we go across the existing basin or existing walkway. And at that point, we come closer to the curb line, and this is the entire frontage that the existing basin takes out. So in this area here, we are right abutting the curb, except for a small portion here where there's an existing electric pole, which we will offset around that. And there's a small retaining wall that will be required in that area so that we can minimize the impact to the existing basin. As we get further south in the site, we then bump out into a larger area. It goes to 8 feet at the entrance. And then we kind of weave in between these existing signs that are located along the frontage. And then finally you cross over the second driveway and then end at our property line on the south.
What will be the width of the path, please?
4 feet.
Is there an advantage to it being macadam over concrete?
Ease of installation and cost.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
One other question about the rest of the building will be empty until it's occupied. And there's a second floor as well. And I do know, because I have 3 boys myself, that boys sometimes like to look at and have adventures. What kind of you mentioned that the garbage may come through the empty building to get to the dumpster on the other side.
So, I'm gonna flip over. This is the floor plan.
Okay, there we go.
Is part of
It's A2.
A2. So there is an existing wall, solid wall that has some doors that go into this space, but this will be locked off so that they don't have free access to enter the interior of the remainder of the building. But there is a corridor, these are each one of these rectangles are one of the batting cages, they're labeled 1 through 15. You can see, meandering through those batting cages is a 11-foot aisle, 12-foot, and it gets a little wider in the middle. But there is a door at the south end of the building.
Oh, there it
That's
is.
going to exit down into
The dumpster.
Dumpster area, so
Okay.
you don't have to actually exit down into this.
Okay, because I would advise not to have access to that. There could be some adventures. Yeah. Great.
That's where they could do the
And-
bike riding. actually.
Exactly. And the second, there's a second floor as well on the other side. So I want to make sure that no one's finding those special places.
Spoken like a true boy mom.
Yes.
There are no other questions. Ms. Pianzio, any other witnesses?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move A1 and A2 into evidence. I believe that's the only exhibits. Is that correct? Besides T1 that we've marked.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Mr. Fury, no witnesses at this time? Thank you. And with that, Ms. Pianzio, any closing statements?
No, we just, we went to the planning commission. They were very excited to have this use. Apparently there's great need. I've been with soccer programs in the area, but not batting cages and pitching. So, my client and, Todd are both excited to bring this use to Montgomery Township, and hopefully others will follow. Thank you very much.
And before we close it out, again, I asked if there's anybody here who wanted to make public comment. I'll ask again now that the application is over. Is there anybody wishing to make public comment on this application? Hearing and seeing none, we will close this hearing, and this application is now in a position to be voted upon by this board. I would recommend that if this board was going to take action at this time, although we can always adjourn into a quasi judicial deliberation, but if the board wanted to approve this application, such approval would be subject to 4 conditions. The first one being the conditions that we discussed at the beginning related to Township Exhibit 1 related to the pedestrian path. 2, that they comply with the testimony and exhibits presented at the hearing. 3, that they comply with all laws of the Commonwealth, the Township, and the federal government, and obtain all necessary permits, which may include needing to go get signage relief from zoning if that's necessary. And 4, that an exterior bike rack be installed along the frontage of the building within reasonable proximity to the entryway. Those would be the 4 conditions that I would recommend for any approval. But again, we'd be able to adjourn if there's any discussion desired.
No other discussion? I'm going to make a motion to permit the proposed indoor athletic facility use on the property located at 92 County Line Road with conditions as mentioned by our solicitor.
Second.
Any comment? Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I do have a question off the record. Is the owner in negotiations at all with any other companies to come in? Like, how far are we from
From
filling those
future
spaces? Yeah.
These activities have been slow. In the 309 corridor in general for Class B industrial buildings, very hot the last couple of years. As interest rates decline, some of the election, a lot of companies defer decisions. So we're hopeful that in 2025 there's some more momentum. Feel good about it overall, but it's been a slower period for these.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you, Mr.
Fury.
Fury.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 9 of a public hearing proposed, excuse me, BP zoning text amendment ordinance 25-346. Mary Ann McConnell.
Mr. Daniel,
owns the two adjacent properties located in 1008 Upper State Road. There was a text amendment previously in 2008 rezoning it to BP. We did present this to you when you authorized advertisement for this ordinance, and currently we are prepared to make a motion or propose to adopt the ordinance. It has been submitted for review and reviewed by Montgomery County Planning Commission, the Township Planning Commission staff and consultants. The review letters and minutes are included in your packet. The Dunleavys are here this evening with their representatives if you have any questions for this proposed ordinance.
Mr. McConnell, this is a zoning ordinance. I just have 5 exhibits to mark for the record. First is Board Exhibit 1, which is the ordinance itself. Board Exhibit 2 is the proof of publication of this ordinance, or I should say the hearing for this ordinance for the public's awareness and consideration, which was in the Reporter on January 13th and January 20th, 2025. Board Exhibit 3 is the proof of submission of this proposed ordinance to the Montgomery County Law Library, which was submitted on January 3rd, 2025. Board Exhibit 4 is the proof of the Montgomery County Planning Commission submission of this ordinance on November 12th, 2024, and review on 12/12/24, noting that this was a review of there was a review of a previously submitted ordinance, and then this ordinance that's before the board was resubmitted and then reviewed by the Planning Commission. And then proof of submission being Board Exhibit 5 of the Montgomery Township Planning Commission of the proposed ordinance, which was reviewed on November 21st, 2024. So again, this is a text amendment, as Ms. McConnell stated, that would provide animal hospitals in the BP zoning district by conditional use, and also makes dimensional changes. And I might need to defer to Ms. McConnell for the technical changes, but I believe the significant change is that it would allow a single floor area of the building to be increased to a maximum of 10,000 square feet. And the lot to be developed as a minimum gross area of 70,000 square feet. So that would be a condition of allowing that 10,000 square foot building on a 70,000 square foot lot, which currently is not in the text, but would also then be permitted, along with some other ancillary changes. Does the board have any questions related to this ordinance? With that, I'll turn it to see if the public has any comment related to this ordinance. Hearing and seeing none, we will close this hearing on this ordinance, and this ordinance is now in a position to be voted upon by this board.
Great. So I'm going to make a motion to adopt ordinance 25-346 to amend chapter 230 of the Code of Montgomery Township as presented.
Second.
There's no public comment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We love our animals.
We're going to move on to item number 10, review of zoning hearing board applications. Mary Ann McConnell.
Included in your packet is a summary of the applications before the zoning hearing board scheduled for February 5th, 2025. The board may remain neutral on the applications and let the zoning hearing board render a decision based on the testimony presented, or the board may send the solicitor's office to oppose an application. This action would require a motion, second, and vote of the board.
I didn't see anything that I didn't feel that our zoning hearing board couldn't decide on their own.
Neutral.
The parking spaces caught my eye as being more than de minimis. However, I think given the use is supposed to be a furniture store, it seems as if that would not attract a large number of vehicles.
It's the existing Ethan Allen location.
And is another furniture store going in?
I
No.
think it's the, and I may have spoke when we spoke it, the Ethan Allen's parking counts are counting towards the existing parking.
Okay.
So whether it's the new store going in or it's the existing store that's there, the parking counts are taken up by that store. as you were mentioning, Commissioner Bamford, that or Supervisor Bamford, that it's not the type of use that really has that many people actually occupying it. So the concept is the same. Do you know what the proposed use would be?
The two tenants, one has actually submitted, a second has only inquired. The first one was a Ninja Fitness in the rear of the building, which also included birthday parties and summer and day camps. When school is out for a day, you can bring your child there as well. And then the second one was a salon, but it's similar to the salons by JC, where you have your your spaces. It's approximately 30. I think salons by JC is 100. This would be on a smaller scale, would be 30. But based on those two users, I had requested that they go back to the zoning hearing board and recalculate what their needs would be.
That's in consideration of the fact that the existing furniture store, even though on their code may say it needs X amount of spaces, that in reality, it's a furniture store and
Correct.
it's not well populated.
It's not a high volume
based upon the
retail.
square footage that it's calculated as.
Yes.
And I'm sorry for that confusion, Supervisor.
I think the zoning hearing board is capable of sorting through that and whether or not there is sufficient parking.
All right. Moving on to item number 11. Consider applications for 2024 Tree City USA Recertification and Growth Award. Marion McConnell.
Tree City USA program is sponsored by the Arbor Day Foundation in cooperation with the USDA Forest Service and the National Association of State Foresters. They give national recognition for urban and community forestry programs in towns and cities that meet the following 4 standards: a tree board or department, a tree care ordinance, a community forestry program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita, and an Arbor Day observance and proclamation. The application process is completed online at arborday.org. Attached is the application signature page and the 2024 work plan. Montgomery Township has received the Tree City recognition for the last 27 years and has received the Growth Award for 23 of those years. So we recommend that you approve the application for submittal.
Any questions? Comments? Okay, motion to approve the applications for Montgomery Township to receive the 2024 Tree City USA Recertification and 2024 Growth Award.
Second?
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 12, award of bid, municipal bid, online auction of surplus items. Chief Lickman.
Good evening. Thank you. As you remember, a couple weeks ago, I asked for authorization to post on Municipid our 8 key secure Knox boxes because we transitioned to new equipment and software. We did put the equipment up on Municipid, and the auction concluded successfully on January 22nd. I'm asking the board's approval to authorize the sale of those 8 key secure Knox boxes in the amount of $310 to the highest bidder, Cody Marsh. Staff recommends that the board authorize the sale of the key secure system to Cody Marsh.
Okay, I do remember this. Any questions? I think. Okay. Motion to authorize the sale of the above listed equipment to the highest bidder as noted.
Second?
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 13, we'll consider the award of the contract to upgrade to Gasboy Islander Prime at the fuel pumps located at the Public Works Building. Agree.
Good evening. The original gas boiler Islander system was installed in 2015 with the fuel pump upgrades and has been problematic for the past 10 years. The low bid equipment provider installer went out of business shortly after the upgrade. Attempts at troubleshooting, part replacement, and repairs have been unsuccessful, resulting in the system being reset more frequently. The concern surrounding the upgrade request is complete failure, resulting in emergency vehicles not being able to obtain fuel. Public Works Department obtained 3 quotes from the three qualified and responsible vendors ranging from $16,606.10 to $24,960. EM Grant Fleet Automation Specialist has provided us with the lowest quote dated January 2nd, 2025 in the amount of the $16,606.10. The funding for the upgrade to Gas Boy Island Prime at the fuel pumps located at the Public Works Building is included in the approved 2025 capital investment plan. So per the quote provided would be our recommendation to award the contract to EM Grant Fleet Automation Specialist, the lowest qualified vendor, to perform the services outlined in our specifications for a total cost of $16,606.10.
Any questions?
How much was included for this purchase in the capital investment plan? It doesn't say.
In the very beginning, I believe we had $25,000 in there.
So this is coming in under what was allocated.
Yes,
That's wonderful.
it was.
Have we worked with this vendor before?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
No other questions? I'm going to make a motion to award the contract for the upgrade to Gasboy Island Prime at the fuel pumps located at the Public Works Building to EM Grant Fleet Automation Specialist, the lowest qualified vendor contractor, in the amount of $16,606.10.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 14, amend resolution 2022-16, North Wales Restaurant Associates, intermunicipal transfer of liquor license. Carolyn McCreary.
Thank you. We received correspondence from J. Kenneth Butera dated January 15th, 2025. Mr. Butera is the attorney who was representing the applicant at that time, and a liquor license transfer had been put through, and the Township Board of Supervisors approved it on March 14th, 2022. Since that time, it's sort of stalled, but then they went to go before the PLCB, and they have requested that the Township amend our resolution to include the suite address of the property. So tonight before you is Resolution 2025-04, which amends Resolution 2022-16 and includes Suite A7 in the address of the property in question.
Okay, motion to adopt resolution number 2025-04, amending resolution number 2022-16 regarding the intermunicipal transfer of liquor license for North Wales Restaurant Associates.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 15, this is the completion of Ready for 100 ad hoc committee work. Carolyn McCreary.
At the May 10th, 2021 public meeting, the Board of Supervisors voted to adopt the Ready for 100 Renewable Energy Resolution. Subsequently, the board commissioned a committee to help draft an energy transition plan, reviewing the work done by the township's consultant. The Sierra Club's Ready for 100 campaign advocates for an equitable and affordable energy system powered by 100% clean renewable energy by the year 2050. With the completion of the work and the issuance of report, the township may now dissolve this committee, with staff continuing to work on the recommendations in the energy transition plan. Members who served on this committee are Anush Gupta, Al Griga, Kevin Kowalik, John Love, and Paul Mao. Supervisor Staub, along with myself, served as the board and staff liaison for this committee. And I have to say that they came to it, it's a brand new committee. They were fully committed. They were fully engaged with the consultant. They had some great ideas, including a number of social media posts that we were able to put out to really tout what we were doing. And now we're happy to be able to sunset the committee and continue on with the valuable work. And if the board approves this motion tonight, we would then send thank you letters to the members.
Okay, let's verbally say thank you to the members.
First, absolutely.
Let's absolutely say thank you. I know it was work well done. So thank you to all for putting together the document, and our working document is going to be ongoing. So thank you for that. So we're motion to dissolve the Ready for 100 ad hoc committee and thank its members for the work they have completed on this important initiative.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 16, appointment of tax collection committee delegates. Carolyn McCreary.
Act 32, Section 505B requires the governing bodies of school districts, townships, boroughs, and cities that impose an earned income tax appoint one primary voting delegate and one or more alternate delegates to be their tax collection committee representatives. If the primary voting delegate cannot be present for a TCC meeting, the alternate voting delegate shall be the voting representative at that meeting. Staff is recommending that the board appoint the finance director to serve as the delegate, the township manager to serve as the first alternate delegate, and Board of Supervisors liaison to the Finance Committee as the second alternate delegate.
So at this time, because we have no finance director, it's you.
Yes, but in the past, it was the way the resolution was done, it was with names, and it's just cleaner to have the positions
Right.
so that we don't have to come and talk about this every year.
Right. Okay. Great. Motion to adopt resolution 2025-03, appointing the finance director to serve as the delegate, the township manager to serve as the first alternate delegate, and the board of supervisor liaison to the finance committee as a second alternate delegate to the Montgomery County Earned Income Tax Collection Committee.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 17, this is our volunteer committee board appointments. Carolyn McCreary.
Thank you. At your January 6th reorganization meeting, the board appointed the current committee members to their various roles for 2025. However, at that time, there were some vacancies. Staff has received a listing of the vacancies on these committees and boards and matched the applicants in the order they were received to those committees and boards in which they've expressed an interest. Those applicants, along with their resumes, are provided in your packet this evening. Applicants who have applied for positions they do not currently have vacancies will be kept on file for future consideration, because at times we have residents where something changes in their life and they feel they can't give the commitment and they'll ask that they could step down. So we always keep names on file. We don't toss them. And we encourage people, even if we don't have an opening, to please submit statements of interest so that we do have a pool to work from. So tonight we're recommending that the board appoint those applicants interested in serving on committees and boards with the vacancies as noted below. So it would be Richard Morrow to the Finance Committee for the remainder of the one-year term, which expires on January 1, 2026. Nancy Salatic to the Park and Recreation Board for the remainder of the five-year term, which would expire on January 1, 2026. Christopher Leonardo to the Public Safety Committee for the remainder of one-year term, which expires on January 1, 2026. Kathleen Karadas to the Zoning Hearing Board as an alternate member for the remainder of a three-year term, which would expire on January 1, 2026. Stacy Clemmer to the Planning Commission as an alternate member for the remainder of a four-year term, which expires on January 1, 2029. And Wesley Knappen to the Business Development Partnership for the remainder of the one-year term, which expires on January 1, 2026. And Mr. Knappen came to the BDP meeting last week. He was very engaged and he's very excited to step in and fill his father's very big shoes.
I'm sure he was. And it looks like we have Stacy Clemmer and Kathleen Caritas in the back as well.
Thanks for coming out,
Thank you for
ladies.
coming.
Thank you. Okay, so can we make a motion to appoint the following residents to the volunteer committees and boards as stated?
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks in advance for the time that you will spend away from your families. Some of you may be happy to be away from your families.
Would either of you like to come up and say a few words about your interest in these committees?
Please do. Yeah.
Microphone.
Come on.
I'm Kathleen Caritas, but I go by Kate, so I'm Kate Caritas. Thank you to the board for considering me for this alternate role. I appreciate that. I'm a CPA and a 30-plus year resident of the township. Having raised my children here, I feel a sense of commitment to preserve the character here of the community, as well as to provide some thoughtful and sustainable development of the township as well. So that is why I would like to be part of the zoning. So thank you again for your consideration.
Kate, thank you.
Thank you,
for
Kate.
giving your
Kate.
time.
Stacy.
Come say hi.
Hi, my name is Stacy Clemmer. I've lived in the township since 2012. My husband has been active on the finance committee. I grew up with two boys playing soccer at Montgomery County United, so it's kind of really weird to be in this room and not be up there in soccer gear. So, I'm looking forward to it. It's a great way to get involved in our township and what's growing and happening here, and I appreciate the thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stacey. Okay, item number 18. Authorize the advertisement of a proposed ordinance to increase the Board of Supervisors' salary. Solicitor John Belko.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a matter that I asked to be brought before the board. A number of the municipalities I represent that are second-class township codes and borough codes, boroughs under the second-class township code and the borough code. There were changes recently made under both of those codes. So obviously, what's relevant today is the second-class township code for Montgomery Township. Act 94 of 2024 was passed by the Pennsylvania General Legislature last year, which raised the caps that are on compensation for supervisors. A little bit of a background: compensation for supervisors are set with caps under section 606 of the second class township code. I don't believe they've been raised for some time, but the state did give everybody the ability to raise those rates for any second class township across the entire Commonwealth as of December 1st. Our township code 43.2 does establish through our code, and therefore it would take an ordinance to change it, the salaries in line with the second class township code at that time. This wouldn't take effect until a new term would start for supervisor, so that wouldn't start tomorrow or when that ordinance becomes enacted, and certainly wouldn't impact anybody here at this time then. There's also an alternative new basis for salary based upon the number of board meetings a supervisor would be able to attend. So it's sort of a per meeting salary. Doing our due diligence as solicitors, we're going around of all of our second class township codes, making everyone aware of this change in the law and the increase from the legislature of these caps. And I wanted this to bring it to this board's attention to see if this board wanted to amend its ordinance in line with the newly enacted law.
I would just say that I feel that we're here kind of as a labor of love. I don't think that we would need to do that right now. Is it something that we could put off?
Yes, there's no timeline that someone needs to do this or a board needs to put this in place. It would just need to be in place when someone next runs. So again, if you were to say today, yes, we want this, we passed the ordinance, it wouldn't impact anybody here. But if someone was to start a new term or a newly elected official came in for a new term, only at that new term would it take effect. But there's no timeline but for that, for when it would able to be passed and then take effect. So it definitely does not have to be done now. But again, it just wasn't acted in December or took effect in December. So I wanted to bring it to the board's attention.
Is there a part of this, was the opportunity to compensate supervisors based on their attendance. And I'm wondering if that portion of it without the salary increase could be adopted.
It would apply to everybody, but the option would be to change the ordinance from having a cap on the salary to a change, to have it based upon meeting attendance, um, albeit there is ability to have excused absences, but that would take an ordinance change in order for that to happen.
And then we.
And again, that could happen at any time as well if the board wanted to make that change. But again, it wouldn't take effect until the new term.
So if we did that and someone had to miss a meeting, there's paperwork and follow-up that would have to happen. I feel like that would be more work for the staff that I'm not looking to do.
If they were wanting to be paid and they did not have an excuse, and yes, it would be followed up to say, we've changed it to have your salary based upon attendance, and based upon your attendance, this is what your salary would be set at.
I think that would be a lot of extra work.
Doesn't seem to be. It would just be, the work would be on the part of the supervisor who had to, had an excused absence to show the proof of, the legitimacy of the absence.
But then we have to get into what's a legitimate absence.
And it's defined in the ordinance.
It says excused absence from a meeting shall be determined by the Board of Supervisors and shall include, but not be limited to, an emergency or illness of the supervisor or the supervisor's immediate family, as well as family or business travel. So there are defined excuses there, but there could be other items that are excused absences if the board so determined.
And if we do nothing, it stays as is, and we can revisit this again next year if we want.
You can revisit this anytime you'd like. I just would be remiss if, due to the revision in the law, we didn't bring it to the board's attention.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I'd like to just say, for the record, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention because I didn't know that we could be getting more money. I'm not comfortable putting a request in for any more compensation. I already feel like this is our labor of love and give back to the community. I don't do it for the money, for sure. So I think that I will just leave it at that. That would be my opinion on that.
And I'm in agreement with Supervisor Staub. Where we are is fine. It doesn't need to be anything more. Honestly, it could be less. We're not going to get rich off of this. We are here to serve.
Agreed.
And that's the case.
So we won't need to advertise then? If
No,
we are
absolutely
doing it.
not.
Okay,
Yeah, this is
perfect.
just, it would need an ordinance if you want to move forward
Okay.
with it, but you certainly don't have to, and you're not
But it's out
foreclosing
there
anything in the future.
if we ever felt like we needed one. Okay.
Or a future board if they want.
Future
They want
board,
to make a
exactly.
change.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
For telling us about it. Okay, moving on to item number 19. We're on to our new business. Any new business regarding our department reports? I know we have Derek Muller. I think you're going to come forward with some information with us. Introduce Ava. Summarize the 2024 public information metrics this month.
Is it Nick Foles here?
Nice Eagles
Yeah.
here. And while Derek is setting up, I just want to call to the board's attention, there is an additional report in your packet. It's entitled Project Tracking for Montgomery Township. This is a report that's distributed each month after our traffic engineers meeting. So it gives you an idea of where things are in the chain of completion, everything from the RFBs to the traffic signal work to any ADA improvements that we're making to the sidewalk that's put in at Raising Cane's as a result of their land development. So that'll be included monthly in your reports as well.
Thank you. Great.
Hello again. So I'm here for my yearly update. It's going to be brief, I promise. With me is Ava Kumas. Ava has been interning with us as a public information intern since September of 2024. She is now full-time as our public information and administrative assistant. She is a graduate of Monmouth University in May 2024 with a Bachelor of Arts in Communication, concentrating in journalism and public relations. So she brings a lot of educational experience as well as practical experience. She was a stage manager there, so she deals with a lot of personalities all the time. So she's here to help us build our capacity.
Welcome. Welcome, Ava.
As it said in the past, I'm going to provide a slight update on metrics. If you ever need anything more, just let me know. This is where our followers stand on social media currently. You'll see far and away, Facebook is still our most popular social media platform, although they're all growing. LinkedIn is our most rapidly growing platform. It got to about 500, I want to say 2-3 months ago. Since that's gone 629, so it's growing. The graphs here are just showing a brief insight into the Facebook growth for the township page. You'll see throughout the year we gained a net follower of 988 followers. So it's been a pretty productive year for us. As far as other metrics, our e-news currently has 1,252 subscribers to our main list, but it's a very engaged list there at 81.1% engagement. And then we have our podcast that started last year. We have, I want to say we're at like 6 or 7 episodes now. We have 46 who are continually listening to us, plus 607 downloads in total. Our priorities this year are the same as last year, but we are looking at enhancing everything. So accessibility, including our media, photos, video, empowering staff to help tell their own stories, and strengthening communication with partners. We're working with the BDP right now to increase our outreach to the business community, but that also includes kind of looking at the materials presented to us by the North Hills Area Library, the partnership TMA, etc., our senator, state reps, and kind of finding equitable ways to share their information as well. We're going to turn over to Ava for this. Like I said, this year is going to be a year of enhancement. We had a lot of new things over the last few years, so we're really refining, strategizing this year.
So part of the way we're choosing to enhance our communication is through enhancement of social media. The two primary platforms that we use are Facebook and Instagram, though those are not the exclusive platforms. We are working on developing strategies. These are entire playbooks. These are just the covers for them. However, they break down the types of social media content, the way we monitor social media content, and potentials for improvement. So we are also working on a larger communications plan that will include both of these, but the communications plan will also include things like general communication, print, and digital, as well as our crisis communications plan.
It also details some processes for getting information to us and getting the word out there.
So part of our enhancement is we're taking a people-first approach, and that is kind of the big focus of our social media content this year. So we're shifting to a more image-based feed, particularly on Instagram, because that lends itself to the algorithm better, and that is what has the most engagement so far that we've noticed. Another way we are boosting that people-first approach is through direct engagement and feedback. One of the ways we're doing that is through Instagram Stories, which is also shared on Facebook. Instagram Stories appears under your profile icon, so if something is posted, it is available for 24 hours. And the benefit of using these is that we can get direct, immediate engagement. What you see here is an example of a poll that we have put up on Instagram to see which platforms the township residents get the most information from. So that is a sort of immediate feedback that does not take as much time and commitment from the residents, and we've seen that it has increased engagement on our stories. And lastly, one of our campaigns that we're working on currently is Meet Our Team Mondays. So what this is we're reaching out to the township staff and asking them to share their stories. So not only are we asking them to talk about their experience at the township, how long they have been here, and some of their roles in order to educate the public on their position within the township, but we're also trying to humanize local government by asking them for some personal fun facts.
There was a nice feature today. Derek
It was
Mullen.
fine. But as Ava said, we are looking to humanize local government. That's the word. A lot of times you hear the term "the township," "they," etc. There's people behind it. We're working on getting people to understand that.
Yeah, the hashtag We Are Montgomery Township, that plays into that really nicely.
Yep. So the we is the people.
Exactly.
So shame on me. I'm just realizing till you just said it that they do hit on Mondays.
Yeah.
That it's been on Mondays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some of the nice features Ava's brought to the team already.
Mm-hmm. And Derek, we've asked for staff to volunteer their stories, but if we start hitting a lag, which I think we might have, because I saw yours up this week, we might have to go and visit some departments and say, this is the week you're doing it, this is the week you're doing it, this is the week you're doing it.
It's all part of that play. We're refining our approach. It's gonna be a lot of trial and error. So while we are enhancing, there are some things that are newer. First up is website accessibility. Now, No, it's not new. We're always going to be more accessible digitally with information in general. But there is a new Department of Justice ruling that as of April 2027, all local government websites must meet certain accessibility guidelines and standards. So we are going to be ahead of the curve. We invested in some software that's going to help us identify some areas where we are not accessible at this moment, as well as there will be some human review, obviously, where we are making things easier to understand and get to throughout the website, as well as fixing broken links, alternative text, making it easy for people with disabilities to access it as well.
We're also working on direct engagement. So I talked a little bit about that on the previous slide, but polls are not the only option. So as you see depicted here, we can ask residents to write a response. So that gives us a little more freedom for the types of questions we can ask and the types of responses given. There are several other interactive stories and interactive feed options that we are continuing to explore, but we find that direct engagement is the best way to bring our residents into the local government sphere. Furthermore, we are trying to engage a younger audience. So getting a younger audience interested in local government is important because as we engage younger audiences early, they then might be interested in pursuing positions in the future. And one of the ways we're looking to do that is by exploring more trend options, of course, while maintaining the professional Montgomery Township voice. Most recently, we posted our ins and outs of social media, meaning ins meaning what we are looking to continue to accomplish and thrive with, and our outs, things we're moving away from.
And going back to kind of what's old is new, what's new is old. The resident guide, so pre-COVID, I know there used to be a new residence guide that used to be given to all new residents in Montgomery Township. We're sort of bringing that back, but the idea behind this is a resource published annually, reviewed annually, that has all the evergreen information for the year that residents may need to know. So that would include any snow plowing information, tax information they may need to know, where their utilities are, who services them, stuff like that,
Where
as
they
well as a lot
vote.
more, obviously. I'm sorry.
Where they vote, all that.
Where they vote, exactly.
Pothole reporting.
The parks.
Mhm.
So what that does, that frees up the seasonal newsletters to just be the timely information. So instead of this big book twice a year, you got a big book once a year, but little, maybe 48 page newsletters seasonally as well. And they're just easier to turn out.
It's nice. I like that.
Nice, really good.
That's all we've got, but thanks.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Content
Ava, thank
development,
you.
I have a question about it. The video obviously being a huge factor in the algorithm. How are we incorporating more video into our content development plans?
Sure. So one of the things we're really focusing on this year is that video first approach, because you're absolutely right. That is the trend upwards right now. So we're using Instagram Reels primarily. Some of the ideas we have so far is leaning into those trends for younger audiences, but also doing department highlights. So we want to show what each department does within the township so people are more informed on local government, as well as potential for some takeovers. So you can sort of see the day-to-day style of what everyone is doing in the township. That can also be expanded to individual projects as well. So for example, if Public Works is doing a project that we were interested in highlighting, rather than posting static photos, we could potentially make a reel out of it.
And are we using our aerial, our drone, and the videography that we can pull from the drone for this purpose?
That's going to be part of the plan.
That is okay.
Yep.
Well, because I know you did that partially with Autumn Festival. I know
Right.
that we've kind of already dipped our toe in that water, which I thought was great.
Yeah, I think where appropriate. A good example is working with the police department, the chief peoples on a police recruitment video. It's featuring interviews with members of the police department, but it'll also show establishing shots using those drones and other footage on the ground.
I was just thinking it would be a great way to highlight some of the features in our parks too.
And then parks is also on the list as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Great work.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for the
Keep it
update.
up.
Yeah.
And if I could just add something, Rich Greer, who's our man behind the curtain, literally. I was at a VMSC board meeting last week and I approached him a couple days later and said, I heard about this app. It's called Globo. I said, you put it on your device, and for residents or visitors who come in where English is not their first language, it would serve as a translator. It also works for residents who use ASL. So I said to him, could you just add this to your list, please, and look at it this year? And within 24 hours, he was in my office. He had already been in contact with them. He told me what devices they would use, and we're going to be rolling it out to at our receptionist desk, planning and zoning, probably over at the CRC as well.
That's great.
That's
Nice.
amazing. That's accessibility as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
That's awesome.
Wonderful. Any other department updates? Beth, did you want to share some information on?
The only thing I will add is that we are meeting tomorrow, Environmental Advisory Committee. We have I think it's still planned out. Yes, okay, good. On March 18th, we are going to be working with the Water Tower Theater to have a screening for a film called Kiss the Ground, which sounds a little wonky, but it's basically a talk about how we can better manage our soil and eating food from the soil that will actually heal the planet and possibly even reverse some of the effects of climate change. So it's really a new look at the way we can live. I know that none of us, we're not an agricultural, but at the same time, we can choose our food accordingly and kind of understand where things are coming from and how climate change is affecting us, because it is affecting us. So anyway, that's a hopeful look at that. And we wanted to have that available for the community to come and view that in a theater on the March 18th is the date, correct? Great. Okay. That's, I believe, I don't know if we know the time. Do we have the time? Right. So we can kind of talk that up. So that's coming soon. We'll have more details. Again, our meeting is tomorrow, so we'll have some more of that detail. But that's exciting to have that coming up soon in March.
Did you want to speak about the voting precincts?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. The other thing that we have been working on, this is something that was brought up by voters on election day over the past, I don't know, decade or so, that we've noticed that many of our voting precincts have long lines. So when we actually look at the number of voters assigned to each voting precinct, of which we have 8, the target number is 1,500. And many of ours are in the 3,000 to actually over 4,000 people, because our population has grown and we haven't changed those. So we were like, well, what's the process? And we are working on that. We don't have everything, all the details ironed out now, but we are going to be working together with voter services and the county and our solicitor to make sure that the process is started and that we can start remedying that issue so that everyone has access to voting in our township, as which is actually more accessible in other townships. So we can catch up. That's it. We will update as we have more information.
That's so needed. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Great. Okay, if nothing else, we'll move on to item 20. Any new business from our community board liaisons? Anything anyone wants to add for their groups?
We had our reorganization meetings. The gym floor is actually slated to start renovations, constructions in March. So be prepared for that. And then with public safety, Chief Wegman actually shared with us that we had 3 graduates from Firefighter 1. And our Boy Scouts Explorer Post has 7 members, 14 to 15-year-olds. So that's exciting that they are interested in doing some learning there for becoming firefighters down the road. So thank you, Chief.
Planning Commission was everything that was before us tonight.
So the sewer authority had their reorg meeting, and they retained all of the same officers. There were 2 notable things at that meeting to report. The first being the progress that they're making on the bathroom project. It's really coming along, and they anticipate that it'll be completed by the end of April.
That's Rosewig?
Yep, the bathroom at Rosewig. And so stay tuned for more information on that, but making good progress. Yeah, Greg is nodding. Yes. And then there was an award that they received at the January meeting. Their employee, Dennis Flynn, along with Wesley Craig of the National Guard and Reserve, recognized their board
presented him with the 7 Seals Award for supporting Dennis during his previous and upcoming deployments. The MTMSA board and staff were really honored by that recognition, and Dennis is a member of the National Guard and is being deployed. The MTMSA has been very supportive of he and his family in this process, and it's so greatly appreciated that they came out to recognize and award the board for their support of a person in the service. So I think they're to be commended.
And we should share our appreciation as well. Thank you.
Yes. That's my report.
Great, thank you. Nothing other than I was not at our seniors meeting, and I think Deb wasn't there either, if I'm not mistaken, but I do know just from following up with them that we have filled, I think, all of except for 2 spots for this year on our events that we now have for the community from the seniors. So we have 2 open areas, or 2 open months rather, that we wanted to plug in a couple of things that we've got on the agenda. So we're trying to get those in place. But other than that, that's the only update I have. Okay, nothing else. I will motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Go Birds.
Yeah.
Go Birds.
I was gonna say.
Go Birds.
One
That's
more
right. Next
game.
time we're together, we'll be in the Super Bowl.